Hello, and welcome to what I'm hoping will be sort of a off-the-cuff documentation of projects I'm working on. I don't want to get too in-depth with editing, so I'm going to just be documenting some projects I work on the weekends. This is just kind of a quick initial video to see how it's going to go. The first project I was thinking about doing is sort of mixing some of my hobbies, programming and retro computing and Arduino electronics type stuff. So I was going to see if I can utilize the user port on the Commodore 64 to output some signals, maybe just drive some LEDs on and off and see if we can get that going. So the user port is accessible from basic or assembly on the C64. You can get 5-volt power off there. It starts from, maybe I'll post a quick diagram on the screen, but it starts pin 1 on the top up here. There's a row of pins on the top and the bottom, and they're usually labeled 1 through 12, I believe, and then A through however many letters it goes up to on there. I'm just going to be hooking up video to a modern LCD just with a S-video output, and then I got a hold of a old 1541 SD emulator. I'm actually just going to be using it for the user port connector here, which will allow me to use the existing 5 volts there, so we can actually just pop this guy off, I believe. Yeah. So just utilizing this piece, I'll be able to pull off the 5 volts and probably just wire that up onto a breadboard and see if we can get some LEDs going with some basic code off the C64. Alright, so I think we're just about ready for our first test here. You can see that I've got the 4 pins on the bottom row. It is the 2 pins in from the end, so 2 empty pins, and then the next 4 I've got clip leads on, and there are 8 pins on the bottom that align up with the memory address in the C64. So we're going to be using 4 of those bits, and then coming over to the breadboard, I've got those wired up to the 4 LEDs, and then a 470 ohm resistor going to the ground pin. I don't actually need the 5-volt pin because the 5 volts is coming from the C64 side. So let's go ahead and give it our test here and see what we get. Okay. So looks like those memory addresses probably have a default of a 1 in the memory address. So now let's jump over to the coding side and see if we can get some basic code that will alternate those LEDs. Alright, so we've got the basic program entered. You'll have to excuse my screen recording here versus a real screen capture. Again, I'm just sort of starting out with this channel here and sort of seeing how it goes, and if I enjoy doing it, I'll probably get more in-depth with using capture devices and things like that. But I wanted to give you a full overview of the project I'm doing here. So this is the basic code. We're starting out by doing a poke which enables the output on the user port, so it's basically setting all those pins to be outputs. There's eight pins there on that bottom row, like I mentioned with my alligator leads that are hooked up currently. I'm just using 4 of them as a starting point. So then we're looping from 0 to 8 with those 4 bits, the maximum value being 8. So we start with all the pins off and do a binary counting, and so then we poke that value into the memory address, which is actually driving those pins, and then the j equals 1 to 150 is actually just a delay to slow down the looping so you can actually sort of see the results. And then next I incrementing, so that's where we're actually doing the binary counting. And then the go to 30 being the loop. So we go around and just continually count. And let's show you the results. So let's go ahead and launch our code, give it a run, and we will see what we get. And there we go. We got the binary counting. So each of those pins is being incremented by the basic code. I've got some ideas down the road for some more complex stuff. I want to try to figure out serial communication, some RS-232 stuff between a PC and the 64, which will allow me to do some interesting things there. But I figured this was a good starting point. I should mention this is actually, I'm basing this code and the wiring and everything off of another YouTube video by Christopher Just, which I'll link in my description. But it seemed like a good starting point, and I also sort of wanted to just start documenting my work and getting that process down. I think it could be a good way to share some of the stuff I'm doing. Give me a reason to document things a little bit better, and also just allow me to share with everyone the projects I'm working on, and hopefully you guys will find it interesting. And I think that's everything. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.